Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. Carmelo Anthony, for the Los Angeles Lakers, in my personal opinion, is just not getting enough. He's just not getting enough credit for the work that he's doing. He's simply not. In my opinion, I think Carmelo and Anthony Davis have been the most reliable and consistent Lakers this season. This is just my opinion. But what Melo is doing, in my opinion, is more impressive than what Anthony Davis has been doing for the Lakers, and I'll tell you why. The simple reason for this, or the single reason for this, is expectations. Everyone expects Anthony Davis to play at a high level. For goodness sakes, he was just inducted into the, he was just named as one of the top 75 players of all time, right? Everyone expects AD to play well because he's in the middle of his prime. I think AD is like 20, 29, 30 years old. He's still a very young guy, right? And he's the undisputed second best player on the Lakers roster, at least the second best player. He is still in his prime. Anthony Davis is still in his prime. But Melo, on the other hand, is nowhere near his prime whatsoever. He's a 37-year-old future Hall of Famer coming off the bench for the Los Angeles Lakers. If I present that package to you, there's no way in hell you would sit there and say, you know what, I'm expecting big things from this guy. There's no way. You would expect a decent amount of productivity from such a player, but you wouldn't expect him to go out there and be a huge difference maker for the Lakers. I don't think anyone would expect that. And a player who a few years ago was having some difficulties even finding employment within the NBA, where some people were questioning whether or not Carmelo Anthony should be in the NBA. And it reminds me of this moment, just to show you how full of it people are, how people get comfortable with you. There was a game, I think it was Dwayne Wade, when he was playing against the Brooklyn Nets. I think it was his last game of his career or something like that. And Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, and Chris Paul were there at the game. And they were sitting at the sideline in Brooklyn. And what happened? The ball went out of bounds, and it fell in Carmelo Anthony's lap. And he stood up, and he was getting ready to, he acted like he pump faked, and he acted like he was about to shoot it, right? And the crowd was getting hype. And do you know what the commentators said? They were calling the game. You know what they said? Oh, you better not shoot it. And I'm like, they talking about Carmelo Anthony like that? You better not shoot it? Do y'all know who Carmelo Anthony was in his prime? But because the guy was going through a difficult patch, because he was finding a little bit difficult to get back into the NBA, y'all now feel comfortable to sit up there and talk about he better not shoot it, like as if he's just some dude. This is what happens. It's the same thing why I said Stephen A. Smith had the courage to sit up there and start talking about Dwight. Oh, you better be careful. You may be out of the league soon if you're not be careful. When in Stephen A. Smith's right mind did him and Dwight Howard even end up on the same level? They're not even in the same tax bracket, for God's sakes. Literally, they're not even in the same level. The reason he felt like that is you could talk about Dwight Howard like that because of the position that he's in his career. Do you think Stephen A. Smith would be talking about Dwight Howard when he was with the Orlando Magic, earning hundreds of $millions? No way, Jose. It's a shame that Carmelo Anthony had to go through that. But anyway, back to what I was saying here. No one was expecting Melo to be a major contributor on the Lakers. And certainly, almost everyone expected Russell Westbrook to be a major contributor to the Lakers, especially, or at least give them more production than Carmelo Anthony. And I think it's a shame that Melo, for all of the work that he's doing this year for the Lakers, is only making $2 million a year coming off the bench, given all of the productivity that he has given them. Let's get into his numbers, okay? Let's get into Carmelo Anthony's numbers. This season, for the Lakers in 8 games, he is averaging 16.5 points. That's actually 3 points better than he was averaging with the Portland Trail Blazers last year. Last season, Melo was shooting 42% from the field. This year, he's shooting 51.6% from the field. He's shooting 53% from the three, attempting 6.4 threes a game, making 3.4, shooting 78.6% from the free throw line. And you want to know the best part about all of that? He's only averaging 1 turnover, getting 3.6 rebounds coming off the bench and only 1 assist per game. This is what Carmelo Anthony is giving him. Just last night, they were playing a game. I think it was against the Houston Rockets. Just last night, Carmelo Anthony in that game scored 15 points coming off the bench. He shot 67% from the floor. He shot 60% from the three-point line. He went 3 of 5 from the three-point line with 0 turnovers. When Carmelo was on the floor last night for the Lakers, they were a +1. He was one of the few players that had a positive plus-minus. I think Russell Westbrook on the floor was like a -8 or something like that, So it means to me, whenever Carmelo is on the floor for the Lakers, good things are happening. That's basically what it means to me. And listen, I think if the Lakers get their act together, he could be a major, major contributor for this team in the playoffs. Some people are saying, what do you mean get their act together? They've been winning games. Yes, the Lakers have been winning some games. The problem is they've been winning against some very terrible teams. You can't beat your chest for beating the Houston Rockets. They're terrible. They're horrible. They're horrendous. They're bad. They're a very bad team. So they've been able to beat up on some good teams. Now, is it the Lakers' business? No, because the Lakers are meant to play exactly who's in front of them. It's not their business, right? If you give me this team that's not very good, my job is to beat them. My job is not to sit up here and say, well, I don't know how I feel about beating this team that's not very good. No, the Lakers are handling their business, and more kudos to them. But when they get to better teams, when they start playing better teams, I think they're going to have to work out a lot of the issues that they're having right now, because the fact of the matter is, listen, they were able to get that win, but they only beat them by 2 points. And they gave up a lot of points to do so. They weren't playing any defense. I think they gave up 117 points and they scored 119 points. That's a lot of points to give up to a terrible Houston Rocket team. So the Lakers definitely have some things to work on. But I think if they're able to get into their groove and they go into the playoffs, I have a feeling that Carmelo Anthony will be a very good contributor for this team, because let's face it, Melo is a big-time player. He's a money-time player. He lives for the big stages. And remember, Carmelo Anthony, just like Chris Paul, if it wasn't for last year, has never been to an NBA Finals, right? So he still has that fire in his belly to get to an NBA championship round. And I think that, listen, if they play well, he could be a huge contributor. I think the only mistake that the Lakers made, this is what I think. I think the only mistake that the Lakers made was that they traded for Russell Westbrook. They should have went and got somebody else. If the Lakers did not have Russell Westbrook, I'll say, listen, this team is the favorites to come out of the Western Conference, because they have a lot of great players. It's just the Westbrook thing that doesn't work. Why? Because Westbrook is a terrible ball handler. He's very careless with the basketball. And then you have him on the court. He's running the show. He's turnover prone. And then if you have LeBron James, who's a better playmaker, much better playmaker than Russell Westbrook, why would you give the ball handling responsibilities to Russell Westbrook? I was recently listening to Nick Wright. He said the Lakers have been trying to find a way to stagger some of their minutes together so that, LeBron can kind of operate on the floor while Russell Westbrook is off the floor. But I think that's the only mistake that they made, because everything else was good. It's just Westbrook is the issue. But so far, Melo has been the Lakers' sixth man this year. Easily. And he's been one of their most consistent players, if not their most consistent player, at least coming off the bench. So these are my thoughts and opinions. What I want to know from you guys is, what do you think? What do you think about Melo? What do you think about my analysis? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode.